In every system of morality which I have hitherto met with, I have always remarked that the author proceeds for some time in the ordinary way of reasoning and establishes the being of a god or makes observations concerning human affairs, when of a sudden I am surprised to find that instead of the usual copulation of propositions is and is not, I meet with no proposition that is not connected with an ought or an ought not. This change is imperceptible, but is, however, of the last consequence. For as this ought or ought not expresses some new relation or affirmation, it is necessary that it should be observed and explained, and at the same time that a reason should be given for what seems altogether inconceivable, how this new relation can be a deduction from others which are entirely different from it. Thus wrote the 18th century philosopher David Hume, and it is commonly referred to as the is-ought gap, or Hume's law. But what does it mean, and what implications does it have for our moral thinking? A common conception of Hume's law is that we cannot derive an ought from an is. This is a bit oversimplified. Some philosophers might agree with that statement, but there are others, especially naturalists, who denies that statement. But I think they wouldn't deny the logical implications of it. Let me elaborate. In order to fully understand what Hume is getting at, we need to understand an important feature within logic. I know, logic can be a bit boring, but hear me out. When we construct a deductive argument, we always have to be very careful, not only using the correct words at all times, but also that the words we're using have the same meaning throughout the whole argument, unless we want to commit the fallacy of equivocation. A classic deductive argument is that of modus ponens. Take this argument. If there is sugar in the cookie, then the cookie is sweet. There is sugar in the cookie, hence the cookie is sweet. That is a valid and sound argument, right? And if we wanted to formulate it, it would look something like this. Don't worry if you don't know formal logic, it will make sense anyway. If P then Q, P, therefore Q. But let's take this argument instead. If there is sugar in the cookie, then the cookie is sweet. There is honey in the cookie, therefore the cookie is sweet. A very similar argument, right? But this argument, even though it makes sense, is invalid, since the conclusion does not logically follow from the premises at hand. It becomes apparent if we were to formulate it. If P, then Q, R, therefore Q. Simply not valid, right? Although it is a very easy fix, we simply need to add this premise. If there is honey in the cookie, then the cookie is sweet. Now, the argument is both valid and sound. But the point here that I'm trying to highlight is the importance of words within logic. And that is really what Hume is getting at. Take this argument for an example. People are dying from cancer. Scientists have found a cure for cancer. Therefore, we ought to use the cure to save people. Is this argument valid? No. Unfortunately, it is not. It's the same thing here. The conclusion does not logically follow from the premises. But just like before, there is an easy fix. We simply need to add this premise. People ought to be saved. Now, it is valid because we can logically deduce the conclusion from the premises at hand. But the thing with P3 is that it is a normative claim, while the other premises are strictly factual claims. In other words, These two premises are of the sort that we can empirically investigate. I can go out into the world and find out whether they are true or false. But what about P3? Is it true in the similar way as the other premises? Some philosophers might claim that it is, but that is a meta-ethical issue that I cannot go through here. But oh well. But the main point of Hume's law to take home from this video is that we cannot simply create a deductive argument with only empirical is premises and then deduce a normative ought claim without adding a normative premise in the first place. There is a semantic difference between the word is and the word ought, just like there is a semantic difference between the word sugar and the word honey. They refer to two different things. This also highlights the difference between normative and factual claims, which will be important to know in our future episodes, especially when we discuss Aristotle's theory of morals. There was quite a lot of logic there, and as you might have understood from this episode, logic is quite important for philosophy. So if you yourself want to learn the basics of logic, then I suggest you to watch this video here, which is a beginner's course.